So go ahead and state your name, major, and how long you've been in the program.
My name is Ayal. I'm a biochem major, and I've been in the program for the past 2 years.
So why did you sign up for the program?
Well, I was in chemistry 301 and 302 with Dr. Vanabount LeBrake, and I would see the other LAs walking around and helping students, and I actually really enjoyed the subject matter. And so at the end of the semester, when Dr. Vanabount LeBrake offered these positions for learning assistants to go and help teach this material to new incoming freshmen, I was actually really excited because I've always liked to help and tutor kids, and so this was like a new thing for me. And so then I also really enjoyed 301, 302, so I decided I would sign up for the program, and so I met at the end of the semester, and yeah, that's how it began.
So what have you learned being involved in the program?
I think one of the main things I've learned in the program is that every student is unique. So at first when I walked in, I thought, okay, well, I'll just find a certain answer to these questions, and I'll just go to one student, and then I'll go to the next student, and I'll just say the exact same thing. But you go to each student, and you realize that each student has a unique personality. So you tell one student, oh, blah, 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 and then you go to the next student is completely confused, even though that first student got it like right away. And so I had to learn to adapt the style of teaching, even though the answer was the same, the way you present the information to the student had to be changed.
Just a moment.
So what impact has the course had on your college experience?
I definitely learned to respect individuals differently. So just because one person is having certain issues with their, can we retake this last part?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I was like, respect, not what I was going for there.
Yeah.
Okay, try this again.
Okay, so what impact has this course had on your college experience?
I've definitely learned to interact with students differently than I used to. I used to always, if someone told me, oh, I had some issue happen in my family, I would always go, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. And I realized that that's not always the case for every student. Every student has a unique personality that needs to be respected. And so I've taken psychology classes at UT, and so a lot of the psychology and clinical psychology classes I've taken have the same exact theme behind them. You want to build an empathic relationship with students or people in general versus a sympathetic one. So it's more about getting to understand the student versus just, giving them a cliche response like that you see everyone saying, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Instead, listen to the student, listen to people, actually learn what they're saying, and then adapt to that.
So what are you planning to do after you finish college?
My main plan is to go to medical school, and I will say that this program has actually influenced what I plan to do after medical school. So at first I was just going to go into medical, pediatric oncology, and then who knows what. I've definitely learned working with students has been a pleasure, and so I've actually started working at a children's hospital, and I really enjoy working with children. So initially I was going to just do oncology, and I'm thinking of switching that to pediatric oncology. But more importantly, I've really enjoyed teaching and communicating to students information, just seeing that little click on their face when they understand something. And so the main plan, I think, after I finish medical school and doctor, when I retire, is to go into teaching, whether it's medical school or college, whatever it is.
So what do you think are the benefits of the style of learning for the students?
I think this whole flipped classroom idea is that the students themselves learn. Instead of just sitting there listening to a professor going, oh, I can do that too, and then going home and saying, I have no idea what's going on. Because it's really easy to see a professor teach it and follow along what he's doing, but then when you have to replicate it yourself, you have no idea what's going on. And so I think when they sit there in class, and yes, it is a very frustrating experience being like a learning assistant and a student in this flipped classroom style, it's very frustrating to sit there and be like, I have no idea what's going on. And then you ask people for help, they're like, well, think about this. And you're like, just give me the answer. Just give me the answer. And but it causes you to think through it, and once you actually get it, once you think through it, the material you learn that way becomes retained because you realize that you work harder for it, therefore when you get the information, it doesn't just go right through your head.
So what is a memorable experience with a student that you helped?
I think my first memorable experience was every student has a different approach to you when you first come. You have students that just want help. They're always eager to receive help. And then there's students that just give you the cold shoulder. And I think the most memorable experience was my first year doing it. I had spent, it was like November, October already, and this student had given me the cold shoulder the whole semester, and I was like, I'd given up hope with him. And eventually, start talking to students around him, and eventually, I remember I think it was before Thanksgiving, took the whole semester, but he finally opened up. And then that last 2 weeks of class, he was like my go-to student because he had finally opened up, and I was like, oh. So it was like weird. It was a really rewarding experience to just see the person change throughout the semester from someone who was cold and not wanting any help to actually appreciating that learning style.
How has your communication skills improved throughout being a mentor?
Definitely, I would say I've learned to cater to students. So I used to just be like a book. I'd be like, oh, what's blah, blah, and I'd be like, oh, well, let me explain this to you through like a 10-minute lecture. And I realized that that's not what a student needs in, 1 to 2 minute explanations, if 1 to 2 minutes. And so I've learned to give more concise responses, learn how to shorten things and say them in a way that the student understands versus just reading from a book to them and hoping that they understand what I'm saying.
So what skills do you think you've learned from this experience that you could use to carry over into a career?
Definitely communication skills, working with individuals, and so I said before, using empathic communication skills versus sympathetic to try and understand the person, get to know them, and use that to then build a further relationship with the people, as well as maybe explaining things to them. If you're, for example, if I'm going to be a doctor and they're diagnosed with something, I need to be able to explain the diagnosis in a way they can understand, not the way I learned it in medical school, because naturally not everyone is going to go and understand all these medical terminology. You have to explain to the individual and know that each patient is a unique patient. Just because one patient may have flu doesn't mean that the second flu patient is the exact same person.
All right. Yeah, it was good. Is there any other questions you'd like to further expand on? Anything we didn't ask you that you would like to get off your chest right now?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Nope. Can we have you do the intro over again?
Yeah.
Okay, so state your name, major, and how long you've been in the program.
My name is Ayal. I am a biochemistry major, and this is my 3rd year now doing the LA program. Can we do that again? Yeah, let's do it again. I'm actually not in LA right now, so I'm kind of like, I'm in LA, or okay, I have 2 years, so we're going to go with that. Sorry.
Okay, so state your name, major, and how long you've been in the program.
My name is Ayal. I'm a biochemistry major, and I have been in LA for 2 years now.
Okay. So you've been doing this teaching method for a little while now. What happens with the troublesome students, the ones that are just not getting the concepts, the dummies? What does society do with these people?
Well, I think definitely in the class there comes a point where you realize as an LA, it's not your duties, and I think that's one of the hardest jobs at first. Being in LA is that you feel responsible for each individual student, and so you have to realize that eventually these students need outside help. You're not there to help them outside of class. You're there in class at that same moment, and I think at one point there comes a time where they have to go see the professor or a TA or someone of a higher level that can help them with these issues.
Wonderful.